Alright, ladies and gentlemen, this is 045 HW1 Graphing Quadratic Equations homework. We're going to walk you through the first couple problems and try to help you out to the best of my ability here. If you have any questions, once again, you're always welcome to come to Extra Help. I'll be happy to help you out. You can also ask questions during class. I'll be happy to help you out then too. Alright, so let's get going here. So question number one. In question number one, what we're trying to do is we're trying to graph this quadratic equation. And we're going to try to find out which option here, A, B, C, or D, is the correct graph. Now notice they're all parabolas. And we've been talking about in class that parabolas are these little U shapes. That's what the parabolas tend to come out with. Anytime we have a squared, it's going to come out in a U. If it's a positive x squared or a positive coefficient with an x squared, it's going to take a U shape, just like the letter. Now if it was a negative coefficient with an x squared, it's going to be an upside down U, aka it will look like kind of like an N or a hill. And our goal is going to be able to graph our graph, and then we're going to compare our graph to the graphs that are provided here. So our equation is x squared plus 2x plus 2. That is our equation for problem number one. We first need to graph this. So what we're going to do, we're going to pull up the graphing calculator, or pull out your graphing calculator in front of you. And we're going to get this screen right here. We're going to type into the equation. Bring it back up. We're going to hit our y equals button, just like we've been practicing in class. So we hit our y equals button, and we're going to type in our equation of x squared plus 2x plus 2. Now where all the buttons are located, I'll slide up a little bit more. Our x button is located diagonal from the second button. So we're going to hit x. Our squared button, which is located 5 buttons down on the left-hand side. It's located right here. So we're going to hit the x squared button. So it's going to be x squared plus 2. And then our x button again, plus 2. Once we type that parabola in, we'll be able to graph it. I have the calculator graph it, and we can see what the table is by also hitting the table button. So first, let's take a look at what the graph looks like. To do that, we just have to hit the graph button located in the upper right hand corner of your calculator. So we hit that graph button, and the graphing calculator will graph it for us. And you can see it's a positive U. Now all our answers look something like this. So what we could do is that we could graph it out on our own by looking at the table. So to get the table, we hit second graph button, and we get our table here. Our table of values is 0, 2, 1, 5, 2, 10, 3, 17, and 4, 26. We could also get the negative values by scrolling up with the black box on the x values. And we could also get negative 1, 1, negative 2, 2, and negative 3, 5. So let's take a look. Let's actually plot those points on our own graph. So let's put that in the corner. We'll zoom out. And let's bring up our graph here. We'll make it nice and big. We'll use these red points to indicate things. And our graphing calculator could be off here on the side. So the first point I'm going to graph is going to be negative 1, 1, and that's a coordinate that's being told on our graphing calculator. So I'll plot a point there. So we go negative 1, 1. That's our first point. The next coordinate that I'm going to do is 0, 2. So I take this, I go 0 left, right, 2 up, and I plot another point. The next coordinate is going to be 1, 5. 1, 5 up. Now I notice that kind of makes a little bit of a half of a circle here. So instead of me constantly going positive numbers, I'm going to go a little bit more on the negative numbers. I'm going to try negative 2, 2. So negative 2 to the left, 2 up. And then I'm going to do negative 3, 5. So 3 to the left, 5 up. My goal is to make a little bit of a shape of a U. And when I do that, I make some lines. And there's my picture of a parabola. I'm going to connect them all up. And we'll move it nice and successfully. I'll group it. Now our goal is going to be able to try to match our picture with the options that are available here in the multiple choice. As you can see, our picture, our U is on the left-hand side of the Y axis. So, option C, you know, is eliminated because the U is on the right side. The D is on the left side, so we're good there. B is on the left side, and A is on the left side. Our U is also above the x-axis, so we could delete D and B. So our last choice, which looks to be our best choice here, is option A. Based on our picture, A looks like it's the best. So we're going to pick option A. So 1 is A. Alright, now that's a lot of work. So we're going to do number 2 also together. So looking at number 2, our equation is y equals x squared minus 8x plus 17. That's our equation that we were working with. Now we got to graph that on a graphing calculator first to help us out. So let's bring up the graphing calculator. So here's our graphing calculator again. What I need you to do is hit the y equals button, and then the clear button, which is located just below the arrow keys. So I'll zoom it a little bit out. So we hit the clear button, and we're going to clear our first equation. And now we're going to put in our second equation, which is going to be x, and then the squared button, which is on the left-hand side again, minus 8x plus 17. So we put that into our graphing calculator. Then we hit graph to see what our graph is going to look like. So it's going to be a parabola or a U shape on the right-hand side, all in quadrant number 1. So if we already know if our answer choices aren't in quadrant 1, we could delete them right away. So let's put this graph and graph it on one of our own graphs, like we did in class. So how do we do that? Well, we get our coordinates. So we hit second, graph, and we get a table of coordinates. Now we did a 10 by 10 graph on our graphing worksheets. So what we're going to do here, we're going to stick to the numbers that we could actually fit on our page, which would be 1, 10, 2, 5, 3, 2, 4, 1, and 5, 2. So let's graph a couple of those coordinates. So I'll put this off in the corner. Let's bring up the big graph. And let's graph these. So we know it's all going to be in quadrant 1, so I'm going to put the graph right in front of you. So let's graph them. We got 1, 10, so 1 to the right, 10 up. We got 2, 5, 2 to the right, 5 up. We got 3, 2, 3 to the right, 2 up. We got 4, 1. So that means 4 to the right, 1 up. We got 5, 2, 5 to the right, 2 up. And then 6, 5. So once we have those points all plotted on our graph, we can connect them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just because we know it's a U, it's going to go right back up. Let's connect it, group, so we can see our picture. Let's put this side by side here. So we know that's our answer. Now let's bring in our answer choices here. Let's see our answer compared to the ones that are available. So looking on what we got, we see that our parabola is in quadrant number 1. So we know C ain't correct, or is not correct, because the vertex of our parabola is in quadrant 2, so we know C is not right. We know D is not correct, because the vertex is in quadrant 4. B is not correct because it's in quadrant 2. So it looks like A is our correct answer because the whole parabola is in quadrant number 1. And it matches best with our parabola that we got. So number 2 is option A. Alright, the battery's running out, so we're going to have to split this video into 2 videos. And we'll go over 3 and 4 once we have a chance. Alright, have yourself a good night.